Welcome to the Open Train of Thought podcast. I'm Sam Blue Sr. Thank you for joining us for real conversations, real perspectives with real people. This podcast is a place of open dialogue on the issues that impact our communities, culture, education, politics, and future. We believe that understanding begins with listening, even when those opinions are different. So sit back, get comfortable, and help me in welcoming tonight's guest, Lemoi Desina. He's a leader, mentor, published photographer, and creative director of Let's Get Social Raleigh. Lemoi is passionate about mentorship, personal growth, and believing that great leaders are developed through experience, discipline, and service to others. So please join me in welcoming Lemoi Desina to the Open Train of Thought podcast. How's it going, brother?
Yo, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me, brother. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate. I know you have a lot of things going, and I do know that I said a few things, about you, but there's one key thing that I think is like a foundation of some of the things that have led you to a lot of things you're doing, and that's your photography. So could you like tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and also about your photography?
Yeah. So my photography it's abbreviated for ASTP photography. And a lot of people are like, what are the alphabets for? And I'm like, well, it stands for a storyteller's promotions and photography. It actually started off as a promotions company. So a lot of the promo reels and the creative content that I produce, it started with that first for small businesses. And this was like the year of COVID, towards the end of the year of COVID. And then at the end of the year of COVID, it just kind of died off. So then that's when I picked up a camera and some stuff going on in my background. But then I picked up a camera and it became a storyteller's promotions and photography after that. So it's been an amazing journey though, man. Met a lot of great people. It's opened a lot of doors for me. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. So yeah, just a little bit about my photography.
Okay, so are you originally from the area, from North Carolina?
No, I am from Florida to be exact. Fort Pierce, Florida to be exact. My hometown. My hometown is Fort Pierce, Florida, and I moved to North Carolina in 2005. I believe it might have been like in October or somewhere in 2005. So I've been here for a while. So I guess it's safe to say that I'm a North Carolinian at this point. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay, okay. And I think near the end, I'm going to ask you a little bit about some of the things you have coming up, possibly. And I
Mhm.
also want, before we get into our questions, I just want to play our disclaimer real quick, just to make sure we cover it legally.
Yep.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Views expressed are those of the host and guest and do not represent any organizations. Discussions on politics, policies, and current events are based on opinions and available information, which may change. This podcast does not provide professional advice, so listeners should research and verify information independently. Host and guests are not liable for any decisions or outcomes based on the content.
All right. So now we are about to dig deep. I try to keep it no more than an hour. Is my motto: be brief, my brother. Be brief. The five B's.
Be brief, my
But
be brief. Yep.
one of the things that when we had touch, had some contact about a week or two ago, and with me knowing you, I think it's been what 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's been about a good 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
I know I believe it was right before COVID and stuff. And matter of fact, you're the
Yeah.
one who kind of like introduced me to seeing behind the scenes of podcasting when we did the
Yeah.
panel at
Yeah.
the lighthouse. We had the young
Yeah.
teenagers there, and then we
Mm-hmm.
did the affordable housing, and
Affordable housing. Yeah.
and I feel like you're kind of like me. We enjoy educating the community. They
Yeah.
may not like it or not, but we want the community to be educated. And
Absolutely.
yep. So what I'll do is I'll kick off the first question I wanted to ask you, And that's
Okay.
basically why are so many black men expected to become leaders, providers, and protectors without first being taught how to lead.
Mhm. It's a powerful and dynamic question. I know it's going to be. I'm going to hope that my answer is a dynamic response because we all have to grow up. We all have to
Yeah.
grow up, and a lot of what society promotes is independence. Be your own boss. It's boss talk. And it's what do you that conversation about what do you bring to the table? It's an
Yeah.
interesting conversation because a lot of us are still trying to find ourselves while we're also being adults at the same time. So we're putting ourselves in situations where we have to produce and show the whole side of self, right? We have to be able to also address the entire nature of man before we get to that place, which is something that I had to learn a while ago. So before we get to that place of, hey, let's go get a house together with my better half, but we're not married, which there's a lot of that going on, right? The girlfriend and boyfriend thing, my man, my man, my man. Like, there's a lot of things that we're involved with a half of a heart of what it means to be whole. So mental health is a big thing. I think that's always a great conversation to have. I also believe that, like our relationship with God plays a major part in that because I feel like my reflection my reflection of how I see man, well, my perception of how I see man is a reflection of how I view God, right? So if I'm actively involved with something and I'm saying that I'm grown, but I also have trust issues. I also have financial illiteracy, you know what I mean, with things, areas of finance that I have to learn for myself. If I can't write a check or balance a checkbook, like there's a lot of things. There's anger management that's apart from past traumas and hurts. There's a lot of things that's tied to reasons why we're expected to be a thing that we're not ready for. And I think that's the response that I'm trying to find. It's like, we're expected to be something we're not ready for because we haven't done the work yet. So in the public eye, it just looks like, well, why did they even waste their time to get together? He know he has anger management problems. She knows she has trust issues. All of those things play a major, major part. So I think doing the work with self is the answer to the question. We have to be able to find time to spend time alone, enough time alone, if it takes that. Or you can build a team. I say look for your creative teams. You know what I mean? Look for a team of creatives that are doing some great things because creatives are usually more like the innovative types that come up with great ideas, and that's completely 100% them without holding back. So I just believe that we're expected to do a thing that we're not ready for, and it's just not a good look, especially for the black community, because we're tied to so much drama, the fighting, the soap operas, the reality TV series
Mm.
where everybody's fighting and arguing and cussing. There's just a lot to it. So yeah, I mean, I would start with that to start the conversation.
Okay. Well, I definitely agree with you. And one of the things that I think why so many black men are expected to become leaders, providers, without first being taught is because a lot of people are thinking about their granddaddy, especially women. They're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about, they looked up to their father, their grandfather, their great grandfather, their great
Yep.
uncles. And so they're expecting the child that they're raising. That's the reason why I don't call
Mm-hmm.
little boys young, babies. I don't call them
Mm-hmm.
grown or man because when they get that
Right.
mental, they think they're running things, and we're we're, we're
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're trying to get them. We're not preparing them into the person that they need to be.
Right.
We're turning them into the person that makes us feel good. We don't like
Mm-hmm.
conflict. We don't, and that's more from what I hear from the sisters. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna spoil the child, but the father's gonna pull the belt out. And I'm not
Yeah.
talking about every
Absolutely.
father, but the traditional father is gonna be the
Mm-hmm.
discipline. And
Yep.
when after that young man gets that discipline, then he can go to mama for a hug, or
Yep.
consoling. So I
Yep.
think I definitely agree with you on those things, but with you saying that, what do you consider the primary contributor to the lack of leadership development among many young black men today?
Mm. I think piggybacking off of what you just said, to add to that, with the father mother dynamic in a traditional household, I think when it comes to the masculine and feminine, right? I used to watch debates about what is masculinity. And it's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting debate, especially when you get other communities involved, that self-identify themselves as whatever they feel in the moment. And it's interesting, but my perception of the masculine and feminine is that you can't have one without the other, right? So the father and mother dynamic actually brings that experience to the child. And if the child never sees the masculine and feminine working together, right, like yin and the yang, then the child will grow up, like you were saying, maybe too emotional or maybe too angry, right? So it works out one way or the other. So when we're talking about like growing into mentorships and what what are some of the root causes, I would start at the home as far as the root cause. I ran the streets. I did a lot of things when I was younger as well. And I did a lot because I felt like I didn't have my tribe. I was looking for my tribe. And I wasn't getting the attention at home that I needed or I was asking or yearning for. Mom was working two jobs. Father was a drug dealer, drug lord. Mom got into that. Like it was just a lot. Father ended up getting arrested, did a long 17-year bid, a bunch of arrests before that, come back on a different visa because we're Haitians, get deported. It's just a lot that came with that. So for me in my life, because mom had to work, when she transitioned, we didn't come up with the father dynamic or that fatherly love where father was like, yo, let me help you understand this. So when I look at my relationship with God and I talk about this openly, I am a pure person before God's eyes. You know what I'm saying? So again, if I feel like I need to cry, I need to cuss in the moment, I cuss. Like if I feel like I'm just like, I just need God, you just to hear me out, then I do that. Like I really treat God like a literal father that I never had. And I watch for the signs of grace, the love, the results that show up, my prayers being answered, people that I'm asking for in my prayers that show up. Like there's just so many different pieces to it that I feel is relevant to my relationship is the reason why I think having a relationship with God, a pure relationship, which we have to first be able to identify, having that with God, I think that would change a lot of the things that we deal with as, the black diaspora. So yeah.
Okay. I think you hit it spot on. And definitely, if anybody in the comments, I see Hilda is very big. She's very active in her community.
Hey, hey.
Here in Raleigh, Southeast Raleigh. Uh, she's definitely involved. And I think she wants to promote educating the community, certain things that sometimes we overlook. But I hold her as one of those community advocates that are
Yeah.
like honest and sincere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, what you said, so how do you think poverty, crime, failing schools, and community instability affect a young black man's ability to develop those leadership skills?
Well, we're all product of our environments. And we can use that to our advantage if we could
Yeah.
acknowledge that, right? So, me again, learning at an early age that I was a product of my environment. So, what I ended up doing was I started following people that were doing things that were positive along the side of things that I was looking to get into, you know. But again, in high school, I would call myself a demon in high school. You know what I mean? Like in high school, I raised hell. I literally ended up getting kicked out of high school. You know what I mean? And there was just a lot. But I almost ended up getting into a fight with the assistant principal because of my Haitian flag, Haiti pride. Got into that. That I don't know. A lot of people don't know the story, but every Haitian Flag Day each year, I will post a picture, which is a high school picture with myself in hair when I was in high school, and two cousins of mine, two guys, and we all had like some money in our hand or whatever. Yeah. Well, the backstory to that is I ended up getting kicked out of school that same day, you know, for almost fighting the assistant principal about that flag that I had in that picture. You know what I mean? So, and that was the influence that I was under because I was running in the gang at that time, and I was learning a lot about the culture. I was learning a lot about the gang life and gang culture, and there was just a lot that I was dealing with personally. And again, if you're not getting the attention at home, then what's the final result? We look at kids today that listens to the type of music that we may not listen to in our house, but they come home with different type of music and say, well, hey, you know what, Dad, let me play this song. You know what I mean? Play Rod Wave, right? I can't stand them, but they play Rod Wave, you know what I mean? And I'm like, Rod Wave, we don't listen to Rod Wave in here. We don't, but they're getting it from somewhere. So if parents aren't actively involved with their kids and their kids' lives through allowing them to get out into culture and experience different experiences, then what tends to happen is that kids tend to educate each other without a balanced mind, which would be the parent, to intercede to be like, okay, well, let me hear you out because I can tell how you feel based off what you're listening to, how you're eating, if your eating habits has changed, what you're dressing, you know what I mean? How you're dressing, how you're speaking in the moment. Like I can tell where you are if I'm an active parent. So if I'm not being mindful of what my child is as a parent, going back to the root cause being the household, then I lose my child to allowing other kids to teach my child about culture instead of me stepping in and helping my cut. You say Rod Wave is no. It's funny. I have a niece that love Rod Wave. We debate about this all the time. I say Rod Wave is the kind of artist that he instinctively uses trigger words that black folks respond to, like the word pain. And we were going to the beach recently, and I was like, play your top 5 Rod Wave songs. And I guarantee he said the word pain at least 5 times in each song. You know what I mean? And that's just a way to actively trigger an emotion to get the person's attention. And that's how he's making his money. And kind of, I'm like, without the word pain, Rod Wave isn't hitting on squad. So I'm sorry, but we debate about Rod Wave all the time. I'm sorry. But but again, we have to, again, this is why parents have to be actively street runner. Right. So but this is why parents have to be actively involved in these kids' lives. And again, if we're not, then we can't have conversations about culture dealing with what's really going on in real time. So yeah, I would say all of those things play a major part in how these kids are impacted because it's the community. What was it? Can you put the question up again? Put it up there again. But yeah, how do poverty, crime, failing school, community, instability affect young black? Yeah, all of it is culture. All of it is community. But the root cause to the cure of it is the household. I'm still going back to the household. So again, responsibility as a parent is bigger than what society has turned it into. You think about before the 80s and the crack epidemic and all of that, households in the black community were thriving. We were doing well because the father was in the home, and the father was able to step in. And if they had to pull the belt out and 39 lashes, you know what I'm saying? Then you get 39 lashes. And if it was necessary, it was necessary. But now it's just different. It's different. Yeah. Slave for Bible study. Oh, you muted. You muted, Sam.
Oh, yeah. Hilda was stepping out. She always supports, so she always stops in the podcast. But what
Thank
you
you,
were
Heather.
saying,
Hmm.
yeah, what you were saying about some of those things that affect, the community instability. Um, to me, there are no more black communities. There are only
Mm,
black neighborhoods. Nothing,
mm,
nothing.
mm.
The neighborhood is geographical. It's just within a
Right.
block. The
It's just a
communities
right,
is the village. That's when
right.
if I see a young man acting up, I could discipline
That
him.
being discipline, yes.
But now you'll get a knock on the door, and the mother is like, If you have a problem, you come talk to me and let me, And then the young man sees that.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think when that happens is like they're not learning conflict resolution.
Yes,
And to
exactly.
me, and well, before I go into that, I want to kind of like ask you. It's kind of like a part two to that question. Um, what impact does growing up without a positive male role model have on a young man's confidence, decision
Mm,
making, and future success? And that's what I was like. I'm thinking about like the conflict resolution. What are
yeah,
your thoughts on that?
man, like that one's heavy because it speaks to me directly. Again, growing up without a father figure in the household, just mom in the home. So as far as decision making goes, I believe that everybody wants to do what's right at some point in their lives. I believe everybody wants to do what's right, and then even in the decisions that they make, I do believe that people have the best interests at heart, the best, but it's also according to the best of their ability based off the knowledge that they already possess.
Yeah.
So they don't have any prior knowledge or experiences and new things, new ventures. Um, Let me see. It's Mississippi. I grew up in. It's the Venice. Wow, wow. So if they don't have the prior knowledge and the experience going out into the real world, then yeah, there will be a lot of frustrating days because in your mind, or in my mind, I should say, I felt like I was doing the right things. I felt like I was, trying to help the best way that I could. But again, there's a lot of things about human behavior that we don't understand growing up. There's a lot of things about, again, like just the real world that we're not prepared for because we didn't have those prior experiences. So bring the question up one more time for me, because there's a point in that you brought up about male confidence and decision making. That's what it was, and future success. So I want to give this example, and this is what I was thinking when I thought about when you said it the first time. Um, I went through a lot. I went through a lot of lonely times and lonely days, long days too. I went through a lot trying to figure things out. And in my world, something that I don't talk about a lot, but I'm not like proud of it. But I've been married 3 times, right? And I'm 42 years old now. So a lot of people are like, man, you married 3 times already. You're 42, man. You move fast. And I'm like, well, a lot of it was more like religious reasons, those kind of convictions that came from my understanding based off of the religious ideologies that I was taught. So it's kind of like, well, if I'm going to be with this person, I know the kind of heart that I have, then why not just go ahead and just make that step and then be at peace with God or whatever, whatever. But like, I felt like in all of those decisions, dealing with the consequences of each divorce really taught me the real lessons, because going through a divorce, and anybody that's been through a divorce, one is bad, but three is horrible. You know what I mean? Because starting over from scratch after you develop something with somebody, and now you have to go through the whole separation phase. If there's kids involved, that's just a big thing. So what I found myself doing was I found myself going through those processes, but also overcoming and bouncing back, right? And through bouncing back, my process of bouncing back, I learned a lot about myself through those processes. So in each occasion, I would learn more things that I didn't know before based off of what was lacking in that marriage. Right. So I would use it as a crutch to learn more about myself. So I'm reflecting. What was it that was missing? What were the arguments? What did I miss out on? So now after the situation's over, it's like, all right, well, what could I work on about myself now then? If I know
Mhm.
what happened or what the arguments were about. So now I'm taking time out to self-reflect, like really dig deep, and learn how to do new things that I was lacking in my marriages. So, and every time that I learned something new, I learned that my value increased, my self worth increased, right? And every time my self-worth and my value increased, that's where the bar stood for me, right? I had to raise the bar, which means I couldn't go back to the old thing that plagued me before. So anybody coming into my life in the future, the bar is raised, right? So if you haven't at least done the bare minimum of the things that I had to go through, not saying that they can't work, but I would prefer to just say I'm good on that. You know what I mean? Instead of going
Yeah.
back and saying, well, there's a potential of this person learning this new thing. Maybe I can see it in them, but they don't see it in themselves. So I think it can still work. I don't do that anymore, bro. I don't do that anymore. It's because it's like there are just certain things that we have to get through as individuals, which means we all have our own journey and our own past. So again, it all started with me thinking that I was doing the right things, thinking that I'm going to learn by doing the right things and working with people that's going to trust and believe in me. But the real lessons didn't come until those divorces happened because I wasn't ready for each occasion. You know what I mean? Each situation of
Yeah.
being a marriage. So yeah, but all of that comes from the lack of parenting. I didn't have that growing up. My mom didn't get married until I don't know. She didn't get married until maybe like 8, 9 years ago, right? And she's like
Yeah.
73 right now, So it's kind of like, again, like I didn't get that. I didn't see it growing up. I didn't even my mom didn't even tell us that she loved us growing up. And I may be the only person that she said to now every day that we talk, but like I didn't get that growing up. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I remember the first time somebody called me beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, and it
Yeah.
didn't come from my parents or none of my family members. It was somebody I was actually with. And she was like, because I'm still trying to find myself. This was early, early on. And I'm still trying to find myself. And she was like, you're really hard on yourself, which I am still to the day. You're really hard on yourself. And somehow she brought it in and she slid it in there. I just want to let you know that you're beautiful. I'm like, I'm beautiful. And then I just kind of just paused for a second. You got that one teardrop that just kind of fall from there. I had that one teardrop because I've never been called beautiful before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it messed me up because even at that time, my mom wasn't even saying that I love you. And again, going back to the root cause, which is the household, your upbringing, parenting takes a lot more accountability than I would say that we've just kind of become really lazy on the accountability that comes with parenting today versus how it was back in the day. So I want to leave it right there, but that was a lot. That was a lot. But yeah,
Yeah, I look at like a situation that recently happened was the Carmelo Anthony, all that
yeah,
stuff that happened. And
hmm,
that was one reason I mentioned earlier, teaching strong men are supposed to teach these young brothers
yep.
conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution. Yep.
And I remember when I was little, I was trying to fight this dude. Wasn't really trying to fight him. I think I was like in third or fourth grade, and I was fussing, cussing. I was trying to emulate the adults. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that he said was, "You cross this line. You touch me one time, I'm gonna put you in the grave." That's literally what he said. His name was Tony,
Mm-hmm.
and me and him grew up to be really, really good friends,
Mm-hmm.
and with his family. And then when I met his family, they showed me like his father became my father. Like
Yeah.
they were role models to what I need to do right, how I need to do.
Yeah.
And he taught Tony conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, if we did get into a fight, his father would like, did who hit first?
Yeah.
So that's his, but that was the conflict. He gave me the choice. And because he was
Yeah.
about twice my size, I was like, I thought twice. I'm like, I don't really know him like that. So
Right.
I don't know him, and I sure don't want to get embarrassed. So
Right.
I think when I look at the story, a lot of people are upset with the trial, and they're talking about, oh, this and that. Some people are trying to talk about race and everything. The thing that I tell people is
Mm,
you have to. There was zero conflict resolution, like zero.
mm-hmm.
Cindy's right. Well said. Parents blame systems, but there's
Powerful.
not a lot of co-parenting taking place,
Mm,
even when the parents
mm,
aren't together, lacking
mm.
majority and accountability. And
Accountability.
that's my
Yeah.
thing. There's no
Powerful.
accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we used to be held accountable. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one time my son did something, and it was like this big crazy party, and we didn't know about it, but then we get a call, so we roll over there, and me and him, we like get into it, like really get into it. And I was basically like, I told my wife, I said, look, if it's 4 weeks we don't talk, or 4 years, I'm fine with that, but I need him to be accountable for his actions. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
they talk about, Jesus forgave, but you have to acknowledge what you did.
Mm-hmm. What you did.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was talking to a parent once. He's like, how little Sam doing? And I was like, yeah, we still ain't talking. He's like, you need to reach out. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
you're the adult. You need to reach out
Yep.
because he needs you now more than ever.
Whenever.
So
Yep.
I got home and I sent that message, and he was like, thank you. I really needed to hear that. You don't understand. So it didn't heal everything immediately, but that's one of the things where I had to practice what I preached to him. So that was one of, even though I wasn't a child anymore, a young man, it's still teaching me lessons. We're still learning.
Yeah.
Like you talked about your age, but there's going to be times where when
Mm-hmm.
you get in your 50s, your 60s, you still learning lessons. You're still
Yeah.
learning how to
Yep.
evolve in this new era. And because
Yep.
we talked about the new era, I want to ask you, can social media influencers replace real life mentors, or is there no substitute for personal guidance and accountability?
Well, social media has taken place of real life mentors. And there's a thing about movie science that's called parasocial relationships. And what it is that it becomes an all inclusive community, right? Is what it all boils down to. So influencers, their job is to portray this caricature, a flawed version of themselves, in order to shed this kind of pretend light to get the followers and to get people to like them and love them and want to follow them and be like them and everything. But in real life, they're nothing like what we see online. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like watching the old drama, Young and the Restless, right? Back in the day, to kind of tell our age a little bit. Young and the Restless, when somebody was the bad guy in the series, and everybody hates the bad guy. You know what I mean? It's a caricature. It's just a role that they're playing. So
Yeah.
social media is the biggest facade that we've encountered, the biggest issue in the community from a third party or outside source. And the problem with that is, again, everybody wanting to chase the bag. Society is promoting to go chase that bag. You got to get your own. We want to promote independence. We want you to, you know what I'm saying, show off
Yeah.
your lifestyle, get in the Lamborghini. You in these high end restaurants and everywhere else. It's about a lifestyle now. And we're all influenced by somebody, those that's pursuing that, perception. So
Mhm.
I would say social media has already taken over, and the issue again, man, we have to step in as the parents. Like, I'm really, really big on the parent talk. I'm really big on trying to understand, because like your question say, is there no substitute for parental personal guidance and accountability? I'd say no.
Mhm.
In today's generation, and even like what you said, there's also people in their 50s that's still trying to figure it out. And that's another thing that I personally look at as one of the biggest things that we had to do better about. I hate to go into
Mhm.
communities and circles and we have the elders that are still waiting on direction instead of leading like they should. Like that hurts me to see that. That's just me and my personal walk. No matter what the
Yeah.
environment is, be church, it can be organization, whatever it is. If you're an elder and I look at you as an elder and you waiting on direction and you're not leading, it's a red flag for me. It's a problem in my little world. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we have to be able to step up and see where the needs are. And even if it requires for us to kind of go off track for a little bit to learn about a thing, just so we can teach that little bit of information that we obtain, then it's
Yeah.
it's necessary. It's necessary. So yeah.
Well, let me ask you. I agree with a lot of what you said, but let me ask you, uh, what are the biggest mistakes that you see that you may have made or you see others making trying to lead before learning how to lead ourselves?
Mm. Lack of
Like
accountability.
what's a couple of
Yeah.
mistakes you may have observed?
Yeah. Lack of accountability. They say when you fall, you fall forward and you fall on the flock. So if you are taking in that role as a leader,
Yeah.
and you under this perception of like knowing it all without being honest with the flock and letting people know that, hey, I may not know it all, but we can learn together. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with that. Or I may not have it all together. Maybe my finances may be messed up and I got to tipper and tamper a little bit with the money we ain't supposed to be touching. It's okay to be honest
Yeah.
about that. I personally feel like that. And I believe if the people are there to follow you and to support, then automatically, no matter what the situation is, they're going to support, right?
Mhm.
So again, there's a perception about being perfect, and
Yeah.
that perception has lost and impacted a lot of people in a negative light, where it's turned people from the faith, it's turned people from organization, it turned black men from loving black women or vice versa, right? Where now it's, well, I would rather go marry an Indian woman or a white man, or you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
all of that now, and we're at war and at odds with each other instead of it being a thing where we love on each other. So there's a lot to that, but I think that would be the core of it, though. Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's definitely one of those things that we all can work on. Um, I know sometimes my life was more trial by error. That's how I
yeah.
grew up. My father, like you said, your mother, I think my father may have said he loved me maybe 3 or 4 times my whole life. But
Mm,
his way of love was providing a roof, providing food,
yeah.
providing clothing. Even holidays. I remember he would give us this Montgomery Ward book, and a lot of people
Hmm.
Montgomery Ward became Sears, and then so
Okay.
it would before Christmas there would be this big catalog, and he literally would give us the
Hmm.
catalog and tell us to pick what we wanted out of it. And when we would pick it, it was like
Definitely.
next thing we know,
Savage,
before
what's up, brother?
Christmas, yeah, right before Christmas, we get this big brown box, open it up, and the toys that we wanted were in that box. And he ain't gift
Mm.
wrap nothing. It was in whatever Montgomery Ward sent it in. That's what it came in.
That's how you found it.
I mean, but we weren't mad at him. So my thing
Yeah.
is, um, I learned by seeing everything that my father did and what I
Mm.
missed, I kind of like added to it, when
Yeah.
raising our son, because I tell people our job as parents, especially as
Yeah.
fathers, is not to get our kids everything we didn't have growing up. Our job is to
Hmm.
get them the tools that we
Yep.
didn't have growing up.
Yep.
These kids now, even though especially the young men, I hear them making so many excuses. Like there's this one young man, you know, matter of fact, when we did that panel with those 18 and 19-year-olds,
Hmm.
there was a young man there, and one of the questions was systemic racism.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah, I
asked
remember.
them if they felt they experienced systemic racism. And one of the kids was like, I'm not sure if you remember this, but he was like, yeah, I see it at school. And I said, well, how do you see it? He's like, because all the black kids at my school, we can all fit in one room. And I said, well, how
Mm.
do you really know that? He's like, yeah, because before school start, all the black kids meet the one classroom.
Yeah.
And I said, so it's your choice. He's like, yeah, it's my choice. And I said, so when y'all go to different classrooms and are you saying, are you being told because you black, you got to go to this class? Or when you go to your class, are there like Asians, whites, blacks? He's like, yeah, everybody's in there. So I think this generation, what they perceive is a whole lot different from when we perceived when we was 15 and 16.
Hmm.
And what I try to do is kind of like break that down. Like, hey, you don't realize how good you got it now. Like literally, we got right now, you got a computer in your
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
that's stronger than, some laptops. So I said
Hmm.
to have that power, to have the internet, email wasn't created till I joined the army. Like they
Mm.
told us, oh, we have to create these email accounts. Like the technology, it was still writing letters, back then.
Hmm.
So I just think that to me, we have to like show the younger generation that you're not in dire straits. You can accomplish. I don't just tell young men they're kings. You show them they're
Hmm.
king. I don't say, okay,
Yeah.
you're a king, but you're not going to be able to do this because you're black. You're not going to
Mhm.
like I don't
Right.
I don't want them to use
That's
their skin color as an excuse
right.
for them not being successful.
Yeah.
Because when from the time I met you, like I seen how you've grown. I was talking to somebody the other couple of weeks. I was like, hey, guess who's gonna be on the podcast? And this is the top. He's like, man, he is amazing. He was like, he's like, I hope he receives everything that God has for him. And
Amen
I
to
was
that.
like, and you
Amen.
know who I'm talking about. But he was
I'm trying to
like,
remember. You said he,
Tony,
which Tony?
Tony Jones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like, he's
Gotcha.
doing big. He's doing big things now. He's like, I'm so proud of him. I hope he
Yeah.
receives
One of my
everything that
mentors.
God has for him.
Hmm. Yeah, he's my first
So
photography mentor. Shout out to Tony Jones. Yeah.
yeah, so those are the things like you never know how you touch people. And
Yeah.
what the way he lit up is like how you touched him. And
Hmm.
I just think that we need to just be around more young men to try to do those things. Like if we're doing photography, do like a photography clinic, kids in the community, because right now
Hmm.
this is everybody's camera, and then they run into
Yeah.
chat GPT. And then I look at
Yeah.
pictures that they post of their profile. I'm like, that don't
It's
even
like,
look
who is
like
that?
you. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
I wish people would stop using all these chat GPT profile pictures because
Mhm.
it don't look like you. No matter what you want to think, it don't look like you. So
Yeah.
I just think that's one of the things. And oh, he says Montgomery Ward is definitely telling my age. Hey,
Right. Right.
Montgomery Ward used to be the spot.
That's funny.
Um,
Tavis is one of the photographers that I work with too. We've been
okay,
growing together, man. Yeah, he's fairly new, but he is killing it right now. He is killing it.
okay.
So I'm actually one of his mentors that I work with him and a few other people too with photography. So it's pretty cool.
Oh,
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
okay.
appreciate that, bro. Hmm.
Yeah. So What leadership lesson do you wish somebody had taught you at 18 years old that could have changed the direction of your life?
Hmm, that's a good one. The only thing I can think of is finishing what you started. You know, it's like playing a professional game of chess, touch and move. If you touch it, you got to move it. And I learned how to play chess pretty early too. And it was like if you touch it, you got to move it. So if you touch it, now you have to mentally wrap your mind around your next step. Like they say, make your next move your best move. Like you have to put yourself in position to wrap yourself around that idea or whatever the next thing is. I didn't have that growing up either. I didn't know to finish everything I started. You've seen my journey. I was all over the place at one point. And I remember a conversation me and you had years ago. You like, bro, you got to pick like three things. Like you got to, because
Look,
I was
hold on.
like,
I said,
beep, beep,
I said,
beep,
we,
beep, beep.
I said, we only have 100%.
Yeah,
If you do one thing, you can put 100% towards that one thing. If you're doing
yeah,
two things, it's 50-50. And
50-50.
I
Yeah,
tell people that's why, like when I would work with kids and stuff, and they would say, "Oh, Mister, I'm gonna give 150%." I say, "I don't need 150. Just give me 100."
yeah. Just give
I
me a
said,
hundred.
"All
Yeah,
you got is 100 to give, and give me all of that 100."
yeah,
And I said, "You'll be successful." And I
yeah.
just think that, like, I've seen how you've grown, and I'm real critical, but I know that your ears are always open. Like you are willing to, like, you like a sponge, like to take stuff in.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that I appreciate about you. Like, you may not like what people say, but I'm sure you would rather them tell you their
Mhm.
honest opinion versus just
Yeah,
trying to, like, fluff your feathers. And
yeah, yeah.
I think, like, just like I know, your photography is has grown drastically, but I also
Mhm.
know that it's people been in it twice, three times as long as you have, and they still can't find their niche. They're still trying to get to where you are now. And there are some people you may look at and be like, "Hey, man, I'm trying to be like you." But then behind closed doors, he's like, "Man, I was about to say the same thing about Lemoy. I'm trying to be where he at."
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's the thing. As long as my main thing is, if I was 18 and somebody, I needed a lesson, it would have been more about me receiving it more, not
Yeah,
receiving it now that I'm older. But at
yeah,
18, I wasn't receiving a whole lot.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was, I was in the army. I was real militant. Um, I was at Fort Bragg, and I was sneaking. I was buying the final call.
Hmm.
I was trying to be in the Nation of Islam. I'm on Bragg Boulevard selling bean pies with a hot suit
Right,
on. 'Cause I was trying to find some type of direction or something because I wanted that.
hmm.
And I think that, but then when I got settled into my unit, it was like, it's enough. I need to be prepared for war. I need to be
Yeah,
prepared for battle. Like, everybody in the unit stayed busy,
hmm.
because if you wasn't perfect, somebody died.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a lesson I wish somebody had taught me, to be able to listen more. Like, I've
yeah,
always been an observer, but I never really listened. Like, my wife says
yeah,
sometimes she's a people watcher. She'll sit
yeah,
there and she'll just watch people joke, whatever. Me, I would observe, but I would, like, just analyze, and sometimes too
yeah,
much.
yeah. So I want to add to that too, and this might come off a bit personal, but I think there was a big lesson in this what I'm about to share because I don't think I introduced you as one of my mentors when we first started the conversation. But just for the world to know, like Sam Blue has been one of my mentors for some years now, and I learned a lot. I've learned a lot walking with Sam and talking to Sam, and we've always had a pretty solid bond and connection. You know what I'm saying? And I know it was at a point where we ended up getting distant a little bit, and and there's good to this. So I'm gonna bring it up for the good that came out of it, because I felt like there was a time when me and Sam had a little run in, and I think because we're family, and I feel like as family, those run-ins are actually healthy. You know, if we're not taking it in a toxic manner and looking to slander nobody's name, like I never did that, because I'm one to listen and always at least consider what's being said. I may not agree with everything, but there was a
Yeah.
lot of truth that was said in the moment when we had a little heated conversation, and and I ended up getting missing for a little bit. But what the good side that happened to, well, about all of it was I found myself through it. You know what I mean? And even though, again, a lot of what was said, I was like, nah, I don't agree with that. But you know what? He might have a point with this right here. Nah, I don't agree with that over there. Yeah, okay, I can see this part over here. You know what I mean? So I was able to take that information and really analyze it and use it to my benefits and so I can become a better person. So I'm never above reproach. I'm always open for the constructive
Mhm.
criticism and everything. And when it happened, it took me back to a place that I was in from the divorce of my last marriage. It took me back to that place because I really dug deep after that happened. And when our situation happened, I was like, you know what? It's time to really start digging deep again because I got comfortable. I ended up getting comfortable. You know, start was doing trucking, things was getting good at one point, you know, and then start get comfortable again, and then things fall apart, and then get comfortable again, things fall apart. It happens, but I've learned a lot since that situation happened. And I've developed a lot and I've used it as fuel in a positive way. Like I said in my post, I learned how to transmutate that negative energy into something positive. When I was
Mhm.
able to self reflect through all that was said, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, I was still able to take the information and self reflect to see where am I in this moment right now and what do I need to
Yeah.
work on, you know what I mean, to get to where I need to be. And that was a major thing. And I'll be honest, I finally let it go like last, I don't know, maybe sometime last year is when I finally let it go. You know what I mean? But I used it for a minute. I held on to those words, but not to be mad or upset with you, but to do the self-reflecting and do the work that was necessary. That was the truth of what I picked out of what was said. You know what I mean? So it was good. It was good. Put it that way. It was a good thing. It
Look,
needed to happen.
I tell people everything that comes from me, and my wife get on me sometimes. She's like, "You need to learn how to like sugarcoat, or like." And I said, "Babe, that's not me. Like, I I said, if I'm up front, like that's my way of showing love. If
Mhm.
I don't say anything, or if the way I look at it, because
It
that's
makes
how
sense.
my father raised us.
Exactly.
So he just came out and told us, "This is it. You jacked up. Your hair is tore up. Go back in the house and brush your teeth. I see pepper on your teeth. From eating pepper fries or whatever." And the thing is like everything I say, if I give somebody, like if I open my mouth to somebody, I know it's hard to take, but that means I love you. Like, I'm not gonna like just, oh man, just shut the age up. Like I truly care. And it's one of those things that I say, even with my family, if there's something that we have a disagreement with, or don't see eye to eye, that was the purpose of creating the
Hmm.
podcast, is to
Right,
get
right,
that
right.
dialogue open back up. Like in the barbershop and all these places, because right now people are like, if you don't think like I think, I don't want to be around you. If you don't do what I
Yep.
do, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to talk to you. Like people cutting off family. Like some of my family had cut off me because we just have
Hmm.
different perspective on things.
Respect
And
is right.
I can care less, because it's not going to change how I feel. And I tell people, like, what's important to you may not be important for me. So don't dog me
Right.
because that's not that important to me. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I wanted to I wanted to kind of like steer into what like moving forward for you. Like what are I don't want to see like ask you like who taught you the most about leadership, because I know you've done your thing, and you have a whole lot of good people in your life that's mentoring. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember this, but you was like, oh, you my mentor. I was like, no, we friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you that because I said, to me, the mentor is, it has been watered down for me,
Yeah.
but I consider you a friend, not a mentee. You know,
Right.
there's plenty of ways where you're higher, you're accelerating a whole lot faster than me. There's some where I may be a little bit, ahead, but then there's a lot of things where we're like equal. But the thing is that we're dynamic. We're you used the word earlier, but we're not stagnant. And that's my thing. When you talked earlier about being comfortable, I want the young black men that's growing up, or any that hears this, to that, do not become stagnant, do not become comfortable. Because once you do those things, that's when it smacks you in the mouth. And the problem resolution will begin to teach that, how to deal with that, how to attack it head on, versus using something as an excuse, to saying something is
Yeah.
systemic when, like, if you broke, is it because you don't have good spending limits, or sound money management, or is it
Mhm.
because you was turned down everywhere you tried to get a loan?
Mhm.
Both could be true at the same time, but I don't want
Yeah.
you getting turned down for a loan to be your excuse for not being successful. Like, if they turn you
Mhm.
down, you find a way to get it somewhere else. So I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
that's, you know, um, so
Yeah.
let me ask you, now that we're in age, I'm a lot older than you, but at what age should
Yeah.
leadership training begin for young black boys, and who bears the greatest responsibility for teaching it? Parents, schools, churches, mentors, or the community?
Mm. Mm. I think going back to what we said initially, the community is the village, which encompasses all of those things: the teachers, the parents, the schools, the churches, the mentors, the men in the community, the mothers in the community. It takes a village. That phrase still holds true today. It takes a village to raise a child, and I still hold true to that. So yeah, shout out to everybody, all the men's groups that are out there working with young men. Shout out to the women's groups that are out there working with young women, whether it's through the schools or whether it's through religion, no matter where it's coming from, I commend everybody that's doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's necessary. And but I definitely think, again, if parents never, I'm going to go back and give you a small little lesson plan that I got into about Nietzsche, right? And Nietzsche had a gripe with Christianity because he felt like the Christian stories were for Christians by Christians and about, I mean, for the oppressed, about the oppressed, and by the oppressed, right? In other words, and then but he was really big on like the Roman, like, the gods. You know what I'm saying? Like freaking Zeus and all of that stuff, right? He was really heavy on that, right? Mythology, Greek
Mm.
mythology. And he would be like, well, the Romans were really big on the Greek mythology, where the Romans would say, our stories are about the conqueror, right? It's about the conquerors, for the conquerors, and it's by the conquerors. So he had this breakdown about Christians being egalitarianists. And an egalitarianist would be somebody that would say, well, if I had it to give, I would give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Or, like the Democrats versus Republicans. Some people have that conversation. The difference between the views, not to try to get political, but there's also two different views about that, where in today's time, Nietzsche, according to the research and the presenter, would consider a Democrat an egalitarianist, where they would be looking for the help instead of becoming the help to help others. You see what I'm saying? So they're looking for the systems to 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 fix the problem that comes from the government or from outside sources instead of becoming that for themselves. Meanwhile, the other side is like, well, nah, we're going to become the system so that we can help ourselves and help people around us. You see what I'm saying? So there's a thing about that where the presenter explained, the guy named is Jonathan B.I. I guess he's from the Asian descent, and amazing historian. So he was saying that as an egalitarianist, the way that it works in today's time is that we would say, oh, woe is me, right? Why can't I advance? And we look at all the problems instead of becoming the solution. The white man is holding us down. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's systematic, it's oppression, it's racism, it's this and it's that. Instead of looking at the powers that we could actually hold for ourselves to become the solution, we're looking at all the problems and fixating our minds on all of that. So now what happens is, if I'm a father of three kids, my better half is also here with three kids. But in our household, all we're doing is looking at the problems and never becoming the solution. Then guess what? These kids evolve into the same traits. So they pick up the same kind of traits, and they will look at all the problems in their lives instead of becoming the solution. So I say all that to say, like, going back to the question, post the question for me again. Going back to the question, when it comes to, I want to try to stay close to the question when I'm responding to it. You got it up here. Is it what age of leadership? Yeah, black boys who bears greater responsibility, teach parents, schools. So when it comes to our experience in the black diaspora, we all understand, again, after the crack epidemic, food stamps, welfare, all of that stuff came about. It was incentivized to get the black man out of the household. We all understand that. So now, if we can take that information and realize the downfalls and even look at statistics to see how things were before then, to see how things are now, I think we'll get a broader scope on what's really going on. Now it becomes a thing of knowing. And as we learn more and we grow into the learning, we can do something about it, because it's no longer somebody else's fault at that point, because we're seeking for the information. Now it's something that we have to step into to do something about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, like, all of it plays a part. We need a village to step back in like we once had. I shouldn't be upset if my neighbor had to whoop my child. It happened to me growing up. I was in church one time acting up, and one of the mothers in the church whooped me in church, took me to the back, and tore my behind up. You know what I'm saying? So, but we need that. We need the village again. So that would be my response, though, bro. And I appreciate it. That was good. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it should start at birth.
At birth, yeah, absolutely.
When I see I saw the John Wick movie with Holly Berry in it, where she had the two Mornell's dogs, the guard dogs, and
Guard
you saw
dogs,
how
yeah.
disciplined those two dogs were.
Hmm.
And so I started just researching the breed, and it was showing like at 2 weeks old, soon as they're able to get solid food, their training starts. Like literally, when that third week when they're transitioning, they're sitting, staying, attacking, barking, speaking, down, hill. They're doing everything, and I think that's the same way. And I think when you mention like the community, we
Hmm.
have to get rid of the hood, the neighborhood, the ge
Yeah.
you know the geographical.
Geographical. Yeah.
We need to start back to the community. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I think, like when people say the village, the only time I hear the village now is at funerals. We got the why little John got taken out, because we got to be strong. Like everybody talks, people will protest, but my thing is we should be on that every day, not just when somebody passed away, and doing the GoFundmes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking that, but we have to expect better from ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if we're telling people our value that we're kings and queens, we need to reflect that. Kings and queens didn't complain. They didn't make excuses. They did what they did, and that's how it was going to be. That, if we want to call ourselves kings and queens, we need to start acting like it.
Mm-hmm.
A queen ain't wearing no bonnet. you know, go,
In public.
just like with the young brothers with the wave caps. I'm like, dude, y'all like
Men are
you
wearing
remember?
bonnets though. They wearing bonnets too.
Oh, I know. Like I'm sitting here like, but the thing is, it's like when you look back to before the crack epidemic and all those things, if we would say we going to the grocery store, the family would get dressed up. Like, you wasn't going out in pajamas. You wasn't going out with
Right.
slides. You got
Right.
anytime you was in public, you was presentable. Like the
Yep.
movie Sinners. You saw all them people walking around, they got suits on, they got a shirt and tie on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Going
I
to the
think
market. Yeah.
we need to get back to not just being prideful for social media, for Instagram. We need to be prideful anytime we step out our door, we're representing our house.
Yeah.
We need to represent. And
Yeah.
so that was those are mainly the questions that, or some of the topics that I wanted to ask you about. um
Mm-hmm.
I do want to ask the viewers to like definitely hit the thumbs up. I think only like 6 people hit the thumbs up, like out of like 25 or 30. So
Right.
please hit the thumbs up, definitely
Get that thumbs up,
subscribe.
yo.
Definitely, when I do the replay, I'll have all the chapters broken out, and I'm also gonna have Lemoy's information. If you need
Yeah.
some photography stuff done, you have a
Yeah.
class
Can
reunion,
I make an
family
announcement too? Can I make an
reunion,
announcement too? Mm-hmm.
yeah, anything. I'm gonna have all the contact info, and I'm telling you, it's gonna be on point. You're gonna have somebody that is passionate about what they're doing. When he's finished, you're not gonna feel like you've been hustled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want. You want somebody that cares for you. Are
That's
there any
right.
thoughts you want to leave the viewers?
Yeah. So I want to leave a thought, and I also will have an announcement to make too, because we just launching something new. Um, but my final thoughts though would be, let's get back to the root cause. I'm really big on the root cause for everything. Let's get back to the root cause. Let's get back to the main thing being the main thing. Let's get back to the black diaspora using the word village, and that's becoming a normal phrase and a normal word that's like we're just happily expressing with each other on a day-to-day basis. Let's
Mm,
get back to when we were family, everybody. When it wasn't a thing about being enemies next door. Or I can't stand my neighbor. Like, let's get back to them good times with the community, man, so we can grow again like we once was. Like, I'm really big about that, man. I just, when it comes to people, especially our people,
yeah,
I just feel like we have a lot of room to do better. We have a lot of room to do better, and if we got to sacrifice and take time out, pick up a trade, you know, go get a trade, treat it like school if you don't want to take the school route. You know what I mean? You should have options to choose what path you want to take. But whatever it's going to be, make sure it counts, though. You know what I mean? Make sure it
yeah,
counts and use it for what it's worth so you can get to the next thing and become that full time entrepreneur. Or if you just want to look at safety and security and doing a corporate job all your life. That's cool too. Pick one
Oh,
though. We got to
definitely.
pick. Yeah, you got to pick one. So I just want to lead the people with that. A quick announcement though is that we are officially launching a studio space downtown Raleigh. And it is called uh, Omni Agency Network, and we chose that. The members of it is myself as the lead. I also have Ryan Smith, which also goes by Rain's World Photography. We are now business partners officially, and also our assistant, our accountant. There, she does all of our admin stuff. Sharita Freeman, Sam, free.
Yeah.
So, she's our admin that's doing all of our back end stuff, and so we're an agency now. And today is the first day that we actually locked in on the agreement. We'll be there for the next 6 months. It is the formerly known studio. What is it called? The Marquee Studios downtown Raleigh. So
Okay.
this is more of a sublease agreement, and we're taking it over pretty much, working out most of the calendar dates and everything. So if you guys need, or if you're a brand, if you're a local business, you need some awareness and more for like a fresh content, headshots, or whatever it is where you need, we got it. Like Rain is a videography expert and photographer. I'm also a photographer. I do some video work myself. Um, we want to make sure that we're impacting the community in the right way, in the right light. Like Sam said, you're not going to leave feeling hustle. You know what I mean? You're not going to leave feeling hustle. You're going to get a bigger bang for your buck by working with us. But that's just because we have a lot of passion for what we do. So usually you'll get a bigger bang for your buck working with us. Let's put it that way. But you can always check us out. We are still working on finalizing a few things. Today is day one. We just wanted to make sure that nothing changed before we made the announcement. But everything worked out like we planned. By the end of this week, we'll be rolling out content. And if it's not today, but we have flyers coming up. We have our first event coming up July 26th, which is a Sunday from 2 to 5. We want to bridge the gap between photographers and models, and also fashion designers and show producers too. So we want to try to create a networking experience amongst the community, the fashion community, where we can bring everybody together. So we're going to have live DJ. DJ will be provided by DJ Brianna Beats. She's a local DJ in the area. We have a collaboration with Spin Arts Raleigh, pouring paint on little trinkets and keychains and stuff like that. We're going to do that. We're going to be collaborating also with Ship Event Rentals. They'll be providing our tables and chairs and everything that we'll need on the forefront. Um, it's just going to be phenomenal. We have a headliner doing a spoken word poetry because it's also an event space. So we want to capitalize on the 3,300 square feet that we have to work with. So we're
Okay.
doing events as well. Spoken word poetry, bringing that back. Feel good about yourself. Come out. Our first event, we have Shawnee Taylor, which is a phenomenal songstress. She's going to kill it. I already know because that's what she does full time now. And we also have the studio space during the event. So come out after church, get you some good vibes. Um, get you leave with a little a keychain that you painted and customized yourself. You know what I mean? Take some pictures while you're there. We'll have some specials going on for the studio space that day. It's just about bringing people together,
Yeah.
community, the village. We want to capitalize on that concept and bring our people back together again. You know what I mean? So, but
Uh-huh.
stay tuned for that. Again, we are called the Omni Agency Network. It's still fresh, so we're still putting it all together. But we have our logo, everything. We have our team put together, our graphics person. We have everything, man. It's phenomenal. I'm excited about it, bro. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna have as you send me the info when I do the replay tomorrow, I'll
Hmm.
have everything posted. All your contact info. I definitely want to make sure people get out there and support. And
Yeah.
I won't recommend something that I wouldn't use.
Okay.
So I'm definitely gonna put it on there and share in my groups. because I know it's summertime. People been working out,
Yeah,
trying to get ready
yeah,
for the summer, and
yeah,
ain't nothing like getting some photos that's not AI.
yeah.
But
Right, exactly.
and I also just want to
Exactly.
let everybody know about next week's episode. We have we're gonna have a whole lot of dialogue with Dr. Yakara Mungo. She's outside of Charlotte. She has a private school, but we're going to be covering the topics of the dilution of the Black vote, some of the birth tourism that's contributing to the dilution of the Black vote, and private versus public schools.
That's
So
probably
we're going to have a real good conversation. She's a educator. She's in the public school system now. She started a private school. So I'm looking forward to make sure I hope people tune in for that just to get educated.
Thank
Um,
you.
uh, I think Cindy just said it right. Recreate the village one relationship at a time.
Right. Thank you, Cindy.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Tavis,
Thanks, Ted.
I'm glad you came to
Yeah.
support your boy. Because I know
Appreciate it,
he
brother.
is always mutual with him. So
hmm
So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And please remember to like, thumbs up, subscribe, and just hit the bell so you'll get notifications on the next episode. Y'all have a good night and appreciate it again, Lemoi.
Absolutely. Anytime, brother.
All right.
All right.